Good afternoon. Today's day 23 of 28 Vegans. I cannot believe that this series is starting to wrap up. I have talked to some amazing people and been able to share some incredible stories that I hope will impact and reach others. So I started this series with the idea of being able to share stories, share people's journeys, share other people's message, because I think that's how a lot of people will connect. When you hear a genuine story from someone that is a life experience that they've had, how they've handled it, how they've related to it, a lot of times that story is impactful to someone else because they can relate to exactly what you've gone through. And today's story is kind of like how I got connected with this gentleman. Nate is going to join us here in a few minutes. I'm going to bring him in. And I had shared, like I do all the time, I share stories, I share stuff Becky and I've been through, and I share posts of stuff that I feel are important to me. And this gentleman reached out to me a couple months ago and he said, I really appreciate where you're coming from. I really appreciate what you're doing. He said, I grew up kind of a similar background, grew up in a community where, the men hunt kind of thing. And he was raised that way. And growing up in a small town can be difficult when you are looking at animals differently than everyone else does. My wife and I, we live in a small rural town outside of Dayton, Ohio, and it can be difficult because we don't have a huge vegan community here, but thankfully, through social media, I was able to reach out to my guest today, Nate, who, I tell you what, he has just such this passion about him that I really appreciate, this genuine authenticity that he brings, and I just really can relate to his story because it mirrors mine in a way. Now, with that being said, he and I are on little different pages just right now. So Nate is a raw vegan, and this is something that is kind of new to me. My wife and I, we went vegan for animals, and that's why we went, and we ate all kinds of wonderful, delicious vegan junk food, and we still enjoy some from time to time. We're working hard on more of a whole food, plant-based lifestyle and diet, which is better for us, better for our bodies, better on the environment as well. And it's kind of like the next step. And then if you want to take another step, you go raw. Nate has shared some stuff with me, and there's also myths around raw vegans as far as what do you really eat? Do you just eat fruit? Do you eat other things? And some of the stuff that he posts, and my guest tomorrow, who is his fiance, these two are very passionate people, and I appreciate them taking time out of their days to be a part of this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring Nate on, and then we'll bring Lissa on tomorrow to talk about how she got started in her journey. But now that their journeys are joining and following each other together, it's definitely inspiring, and I love seeing. So I'm going to send Nate a invite here. Give me just a second. All right, so he should get notification for that. We'll bring him in, and we'll have a good conversation here. And hopefully something we say, something we share resonates with somebody else. So what's going on, man?
What's up, brother? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good. Absolutely.
Okay, because I got the headphones on, so I can hear you real good too.
I think we should be good. Man, I tell you what, first off, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to come on. And I just appreciate your passion. I appreciate that you reached out to me, and we started having these conversations and talking about life and how our journey started and how similar they are. And
yeah, man.
I wanted to.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, man.
You're very welcome. This is. It's funny. The more men that I talk to that have kind of grown up the same way I did, grown up in families that hunt, grown up with that masculine mentality that, oh, we're men, we're men, we have to kill these animals, that's why they're here. And then you realize, well, that's not the case. But you shared with me early on how that really started resonating with you. You care to share that little story real quick?
Say again, what was it?
Your story that you were fishing, when you were young and just started initially thinking about this?
Yeah. So when I was about, I don't know, maybe 7, 8 years old, I came up to Oregon. We lived in the Mojave Desert at the time. Came up to Oregon, did a little fishing off the deck of my uncle's dock down here at the river, and got a fish on. I catch him. He's telling me how to reel it in, And I'm so excited, man, because here I get this trout. You know, I take the hook out, I put him in the bucket, and I didn't want to fish anymore. I just wanted to play with this little fish, you know. And so then he talks about, hey, let's go up and we'll clean the fish up. And I said, okay, cool. I'm thinking like, are we going to give him a bath or something? I don't know. We're going to clean him up, you know. And so he takes the fish out and he grabs the knife and right through the anus up to the throat. And then he pulls out the guts. And I had a total meltdown, man. I'm like crying hysterically, like freaking out, like, you know, screaming, no, you know, like I couldn't believe I killed the fish essentially. And I was so bummed that I caught this fish. And, so what ended up happening was, you know, like my grandpa, my dad, my uncle, everybody pulls me aside and they give me the man talk. You know, this is the circle of life. We got to be able to provide for ourselves and feed. And this is, you know, the fish is there for us. So I'm like, all right, cool. You know, the blinders kind of come on. I'm like, this is what men do. This is what men do. And I didn't have any fish. I couldn't eat any fish. And I couldn't eat fish for years because of that. And, you know, just it disgusted me. If my parents were more open-minded at that point in time, I definitely would have been vegan right then and there.
You know, I talk about this regularly, and I feel that our dads, our uncles, our grandfathers, they kind of grind that compassion out of us. Because they tell you, oh, no, this is how it's supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to do. This is what men do. And when you find out that's a crock of shit, it really changes your perspective on things. You know, your reaction, I think, is what we're all born with, right? You're born with, oh my God, why are you doing that to that fish? And at a small age, that compassion and that kindness to animals is ground out of us and just drives me absolutely crazy. I spent most of my life with my family, my dad, probably 7, 8 years old. We started going out in the woods with my dad and we started hunting. At that point, we were hunting squirrels and rabbits and groundhogs and small game, but that's what we were told we were supposed to do. And I love that men are waking up, that men are realizing that that is not what men are supposed to do. And that doesn't make you manly. That doesn't make you masculine. And it sure as hell doesn't take anything away from you by being kind and compassionate to animals as well as other people. So, man, that's a
I can definitely understand. It's tricky because there's part of me, I've loved the Native American story. You know, like when I was a kid, I watched Dances with Wolves, right? Mm-hmm. And Dances with Wolves, they have that scene where they go and they get the buffalo. They paint themselves up. They paint their horses up. It's a real, you know, it's a real special ceremony. And it's respectful. And then, you know, later on in the film, they come across the field where the the Europeans come in and they killed all kinds of buffalo and just took their fur. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, I was, again, disgusted to be a man, a European man, especially because we give no thanks for these animals. Now, I definitely I can respect the certain fact that if you were absolute need, you had to. Right, sure. But here we are 2019, man. Like we don't have to do these kind of things, man. So
that's so funny. Like it's just the way you're raised and the men around you, how they form your opinion.
Yep.
It's a powerful tool, and unfortunately they use it because that's what was done to them. So, you know, I can't blame my dad because that's what his dad did to him. I can't blame my grandpa because that's what his dad did to him. And if you think about, you know, by that point, my great-great-grandpa, maybe back then that's something they had to do.
Yeah.
But today, like you said, that's not the case. A, we know better. B, that's not a necessity. And, you know, I think we need to teach more young men and more men even my age, and I just turned 40. One of my jobs, I feel, is to reach out to other men and share my journey, my story, because you don't have to do these things anymore, and it doesn't make you more of a man. In fact, science is showing the more meat and dairy you consume actually makes you less masculine, less vibrant, and less yes. So it's so funny.
It's tricky because we really do have to question things. There's this great story of the girl, she's cooking a roast, right? So she cuts off the end of both the roast to put it in the pan. And, you know, the granddaughter comes up and says, hey, why do you cut off the ends of the roast? And she says, well, my mom did that. So she goes and asks, or she said that to her mom. And then she goes and asks her grandma, hey, how come you cut off the ends of the roast? And she's like, well, my mom did that. And so she goes and asks great grandma. Great grandma's still there. And great grandma says, well, the pan was too small. The roast didn't fit. So I think it really, like, we're at that point in time where we really got to question, like, these traditions and why do we do what we do? Is it necessary? Now, of course, we're talking a roast, well, of course, we don't want to be eating a roast, but I think that story is kind of funny because you just kind of mindlessly follow suit with what you were raised with or what you've been told to be, or what you see. You're like, well, that's all these other dudes are doing this. I guess that's what I got to do. I better go get a gun and start hunting my food because all of my homies are doing it. Yeah.
It's funny how that perspective changes. And one of the things that I used to cherish was a set of pictures that I had. It was a picture of my dad and I and a deer I killed, a picture of my dad and his dad and a deer they killed, and a picture of my grandpa and my great-grandpa and my great-grandpa with a deer they killed. And to me, it's like, oh, look, this runs in my family. This is tradition. This is what men do.
Yeah.
And
right.
I still have them. But that is a tradition that I am glad and so proud that I am not passing on to my kids, to my boys.
You're stopping it. You're stopping that tradition, man. Now it'll be a different picture. Like
yes,
a picture of you guys in the garden, or going out and getting buckets of apples or something.
One of the things I love doing, and I wish there was a different word for it, but I love mushroom hunting. And here, about middle of April to middle of May in Ohio is the best time of the season for that. And there's only about a month. Morels, so they'll have great.
The morels.
Yes.
Oh man,
I cannot wait. That's one of my favorite times of the year, and we can go out and hunt those all day long, and we don't have to kill anything.
Right.
So
yeah.
Somebody
you cut them, and they can grow more. And
right?
I know it, man. Morels are unbelievable.
Somebody just said, "Oh, mushrooms." You know what? I'll take mushrooms on anything, any day, all day long. So
yeah,
that's something I absolutely love. Wait.
Especially marinated.
Yes. To me, there's not a wrong or right way to cook a mushroom. I'll eat them all day long. So
yeah.
You shared something else that you and I had a conversation about relationships, of how most men, especially on a typical Western diet, don't take care of their bodies by fueling it properly with the right food. But then you correlated that to what they do with their truck. Since you dropped that gem on me, would you share that with everybody?
Sure, man. So the way that I picture is our souls are in this body, and this is a multi-gazillion-dollar Maserati, this body that we get to drive and experience this third-dimensional life in. Now, we as a species, especially men, and like here, I'm sure lots of places in America, we spend ridiculous amounts on our trucks, like we want a big truck, and nothing against a big truck. I lived the big truck scene. I had a big truck for years, lifted, but we treat these, $80,000 trucks, which is pennies compared to how amazing these bodies are, with the utmost respect. We get them detailed. We get the best oils. We're always changing the oil on regular. Make sure the tires are good. The brakes are set. We treat the trucks with more respect than we do our own bodies. And our bodies wouldn't even start. It wouldn't even leave the driveway, man, if we treated our truck like we treat our bodies. You can't put in, diesel into a gasoline truck and vice versa. You can't put, gasoline in your oil tank. Yeah, it's just amazing how we treat these inanimate objects that we actually pay for better than we do what we were given for free. We were given this body for free, and we don't really put much value on what we get for free in a lot of ways. I feel like it's a trip, man. Definitely.
It really is, and that is a wonderful metaphor that I am going to use that and share that, because you are absolutely right. When you're talking to men in particular, if you treated your truck that way, if you fueled your truck with fat, with cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, obesity, man, that truck wouldn't get down the street, let alone all the way to the store and back. So just
exactly, man.
When you shared that with me, like the grin on my face, I wish you'd have seen it then, because that is something that men can relate to. And personally, I think anyone should, not just men, but when you see and look at things differently, when you make that perspective change, it really like makes you, I mean, if it doesn't make you think, holy shit, I've been doing things wrong, like there's something wrong with you.
Something wrong. Yeah, definitely. Oh, it's so true, man. Definitely. Yeah, use that. That is a good one. And, you know, like you and I both are on this path where we want to be able to connect with more men. And it's not like we want to bash our fellow brethren, you know, but to like be like, hey, can you just put these glasses on for a moment? Maybe you could see things in a little different way, you know? And I know there's a lot of, it's hard to change, and there's a lot of disconnection between, you know, life, basically. Like you guys went for the animals, you guys went vegan for the animals, which is amazing because you're connecting with that life. You're understanding that you're taking another life. And that life wasn't put on here for us to, you know,
that's right,
to kill. Yeah.
No, it wasn't here for us to kill. You know, people say, oh, well, when, you know, I don't want to give up bacon. I don't want to give up hamburgers, whatever the case is. And it's something that really doesn't mean anything at the end of the day, because when you give those things up, you're just stopping from taking something that didn't belong to you in the first place.
Exactly.
And that is like spot on. And then when you start doing actual research as far as how you're fueling your body and what things like bacon, which is a level 1 carcinogen, does to us, there's a reason why when you consume processed meat that you have a higher chance of having colon cancer in particular. And like, you know, I asked somebody the other day, someone in my family, I will not throw them under the bus, but someone I've known all my life, you know, they were like, oh, well, you know, everything in moderation. I said, do you smoke? And they said, no. I said, well, why don't you smoke? Well, because it could cause cancer. I said, well, there are some people that live till they're 90, smoke 3 packs a day and never have cancer. So why not take the risk? And he said, well, it's not worth the risk. I said, then why are you eating bacon? Why are you continuing to consume these animals that science has shown that it's not good for us? And
exactly,
you know,
man.
Of course, there's no response, there's no rebuttal, and it's like, oh, well, because that's what I always have done. And that mentality has absolutely...
It makes you tired.
Yeah.
It makes you tired, too. You eat these meals, and you're like, oh, let's go take a nap. Now, when we go fuel up our trucks with gasoline, we go start it, it's not like barely starting. You know, it's running properly. And that's the way that when we're putting in these foods into our bodies, we should be feeling the same. We should be feeling energized and ready to go, like, let's go for a hike. Not like, hey, you want to lay down on the floor and take a nap? And the way I say it is, it's tricky because right here, basically right here is where we get all the pleasure. You know what I mean? Like after it leaves this point, it's gone. But right here, it's like, I mean, I remember I have the frame of reference of bacon, man. And oh my God, it's amazing right here, you know, but after that, and then of course, you know, it's amazing too how we're slaves to our taste buds. That's where a lot of people have a hard time kicking these things, not only tradition, but the salt content, the fat. I mean, salt, fat, and oil, man, right? It's so addictive. And that's why even the Beyond Meat burgers and these, you know, transitional meats, I like to call them, because it's helping people transition into eating more plant-based. They still have those ratios just so dialed in the lab, you know, to get that fat, salt, you know, and oil, you know, whatever. Oil is fat, but those contents are in there to make it addictive and taste good. Yeah, it's tricky, man. It is tricky. We're slaves to the taste buds, and it's like right here, like pepperoni pizza. I remember it was amazing right here, and after that, it doesn't feel good.
So good. That's so you brought up fueling your body in the right way, that when you're done fueling your body, you should feel like you want to get up and go hike versus taking a nap. So you're probably, to my knowledge, you're the first raw vegan that I've had on. And then tomorrow I'll have another raw vegan on. So you two absolutely rock the house. But so for folks who are not familiar, or folks who have this mindset of, can I only eat just apples? Can I only eat fresh fruit? Would you care to share a little bit of some of your favorite things that are raw that you eat that people may not expect, or may think past that, just that mentality of, oh, I can only have like raw fruit. What is this?
Yeah. So fruit, of course, is amazing because it's absorbed and digested the fastest. So like you're getting those sugars into the cells, especially if you're not like dipping your apples in peanut butter, right? Because the fat, of course, mixing with the sugars is not a good combo. Melons are amazing. They're pre-digested. You're getting that energy immediately. What I really like is banana ice cream. And actually I'm working on a book, banana ice cream recipe book. It'll have like lots of recipes, hopefully over 40 recipes. We'll have the raw natty, which will be like the good clean ones. Then we'll have the raw naughty, because we'll put the peanut butter and stuff in there.
Yeah.
But banana ice cream is something that I really love on this lifestyle. Other things that I like for special is I like to use my dehydrator, and I like to marinate vegetables like broccoli, mushrooms, green onions, those morels, man, like especially using the combination of fats and sugars, which aren't necessarily the best.
Right.
I'll use tahini and some maple syrup, some lemon juice and other seasonings, and stir that up, put it in a plastic bag, marinate it, and then dehydrate it. Throw that over some cauliflower rice. You basically just take cauliflower, throw it in your food processor, a couple of dates and a few seasonings, and you got some good rice.
Sorry about that. So these advertisings keep coming up.
That's all right.
So zucchini noodles is a really good one, or cucumber noodles. So those kind of dishes are really fun, as well as we'll do like, and all of these recipes, man, are from who you're having on tomorrow, Lissa. Her recipe books they're my survival guides now. I have other recipes from Life Regenerator, Dan the Man, some Tanny Raw recipes, because, it's kind of fun rather than just coining up a banana and eating a mango, which is delicious.
Yes.
It's kind of fun to have a little, creative time in the kitchen. You're chopping something, you're marinating something. But those, even like a raw sprouted chili, like sprouting lentils and chickpeas, and they're sprouted. So they're actually alive, man. They're not cooked. They're not dead. And making a good thick tomato sauce in the Vitamix. It's nice and warm. I love the Vitamix. I've had other blenders, and, it'd be cool to, I know some people are, scared of Vita because they're so expensive, but as a raw foodie, it's hands down like the #1 piece of equipment you have to make stuff delicious. But, throw in some chunky vegetables in that, like mushrooms and onions, broccoli, throw in those marinated veggies. So chili, also doing that marinara over like zucchini noodles. So it's like a spaghetti. Those things are fun. I also do like a really good taco meat, a falafel meat. And these meats are actually made from sunflower seeds, sun-dried tomatoes, onion, garlic, jalapenos, and different seasonings. Super delicious. But for the most part, the way that I live, man, I have a smoothie, I have a melon, I'll have oranges, like little mandarins in my center console in the truck. So you're driving along, apples, mandarins, or bananas are great, like right away.
Yeah.
You need some fuel. And then, of course, dinner is pretty much a big, massive bowl of salad and then banana ice cream. It's kind of, in a sense, to other people who have options out there, say Carl's Jr., Taco Bell, steakhouses or whatever, it may seem kind of boring, but with the dressings, making different dressings, you can taste really good. And it's simple. Like our dogs, well, we're not dogs, but our dogs eat the same food every day. You know what I mean? Like we can't hear that they're complaining, but they eat the same food every day.
Yes. Man, I'm going to have to check out her book. So before you and I are done here, I will let you give a little intro to everyone watching today for what to expect tomorrow from her.
I love it.
This is one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on, because you're very passionate the way you bring this to light. I appreciate that you are trying to approach everyone, not just men, but everyone from a standpoint of education and encouragement, lead by example. And I think that's so important to be passionate and lead by example. And then, no one likes to be preached to. No one likes to be told what to do or what not to do.
Right.
I think we attract more people that are willing to listen when you have that approach. And man, you've just got this raw, like this energy about you that is just infectious and people want to be around. And I really appreciate that, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on today.
Thanks, man. That means the world to me, brother. I really appreciate that. Really, really do.
You're very
man, this was
welcome.
great. This is good. This is good. Yeah, and like we have a lot of work to do, man. I mean, we have a lot of work to do to try to, get people to see things in a different perspective without, being too dogmatic and too preachy and bashing them. That's not the way that we would be in, society. It's kind of interesting how people sometimes, I especially now at this day and age, and seeing like a lot of the hype on YouTube. We got the carnivore diet, we got a lot of ex-vegans, and there's a lot of hate, and there's a lot of like these people, a lot of vegans even, like they're psychopathic, man, on how they're even trying to communicate, and nobody's going to listen to that. Like, if you're yelling at your kid, screaming at the top of your lungs to your kid's not going to really absorb the message that you're trying to bring across, as if you were to sit down with your kid and be like, check it out. This is the way I'm picturing, so it's a fine line on figuring out how we can connect with people. And it is really cool because there's more and more individuals that are coming to this movement, so to speak, that has been, this has been a way of life since the beginning of life. But, it's a really interesting, the full spectrum of where, I was in the medical field, and I'm seeing, okay, like the Food and Drug Administration, they administer the drugs in the food, which makes us addicted. We can't stop eating these foods, makes us unhealthy. We have to go to the doctors, so the doctors are making their money by prescribing the pharmaceuticals, and it's a treatment-based. Nothing's really getting healed. It's like, oh, you got eczema? Well, let's give you a steroid cream and put that on there. Not like, well, how many times are you pooping a day, and what are you putting into your tank?
Yeah.
So it's this revolving door to keep us kind of sick. And, there's just a lot of work to be done, man. And, sometimes it can be pretty depressing in a lot of ways, because how do we connect with people? How can we connect with people? And I think that these kind of things right here, these talks, what you're doing every single day for February, dude, you rock, man. Like, that is so awesome, because there it is. That's all it is. It's just trying to get information out, and it's coming from different people. Like, I follow a couple people on Instagram. They're hip hop artists, and they sing cool songs about veganism. And it's like the way I picture is, say you have say like I'm telling 7 different music artists, country, hip hop, rap, rock and roll, punk rock. They all have, I'm giving them, write a song about love. Now, each one of them are writing a song about love, but the person who's really into country isn't going to listen to heavy metal, but each genre is able to get that message across.
Yes.
And that's kind of where we're at right now, man. Everybody has their own voice and their own perspective, and the main thing is just getting this message across. Like, it's unsustainable, for one, environmentally, the billions of animals that we're killing. And, if you are what you eat, you're eating dead flesh, like it's, the animals we kill are killing us, man. It's like, I worked in the cardiac unit, and seeing what I saw on a daily basis, man, we had 16 rooms, and those rooms were pretty much full every day. And we're very addicted to our taste buds, and the neurological connection of possibly other organisms that are living within us, parasites, body fat, yeast, mold, fungus, all of these things are alive. They want to keep surviving, so they're pumping, hey, have that donut, Oh, man, it's Cindy's birthday? Oh, here's the donuts. There's always some funk around us, so we have these abilities to be able to test our willpower, so to speak, every single day. And that's powerful. That's really empowering. And I feel like if there's anything in life that we necessarily, like I say, people are like, oh, man, Nate, I love vegetables and I love fruit, but I could never give up cheese. And it's like, change the word cheese to cocaine or heroin. Like, you are an addict. Like, you should not have this. Yeah, you shouldn't have cheese, have a strong hold on you like that. You should be able to be like, yeah, I could give up cheese for a few months, no problem, But man, these Food and Drug Administration, right? They administer the drugs and the food, man. It makes perfect sense to me. But it is a tricky one, man. Definitely, we're faced with something you know, pretty huge. This is bigger than what our tongues are telling us to eat, you know, definitely. This whole concept.
You know, you talk about the FDA in particular, and you start looking at some of the other things, so like the USDA. You talk about, someone was talking about a study from the dairy, I forget the name of it, something, the Dairy Association that, you know, feeds the USDA and feeds the FDA. I can't think of another industry outside of pharmaceuticals that have such a stronger hold on our government. Because if you look at it, the government is in control of education. And when I was a kid, when you were a kid, you know, they used to have this stupid ass food pyramid that said you had to have chicken, beef, or steak every day. You had to have dairy. Thank God Canada woke up and said, you know what? We're taking dairy off of that recommendation. So
we're changing the pyramid. Yeah.
Things are definitely
and that's
changing.
How we're pumped. That's how we're pumped, man. See, I mean, every single, you know, lunch meal came with milk. You know, there was no real other option. Maybe a juice once in a while, an orange juice or an apple juice, which of course is pasteurized and loaded with sugar.
Right.
And there's just not the options out there. And it's really sad because, you know, soda is cheaper than water. You know, you can go and you can get, a lot of people have a hard time with the concepts of how expensive it is to eat healthy. You know, because you can get 2, you know, burgers for $1 at the gas station, or you can go to Starbucks and you can get your, you know, your breakfast sandwich with 5 different animal products on it for, you know, another $2 or something, where, you know, a melon might be $5. But there's that great saying, and you probably have heard it, pay the farmer now or pay pharma, big pharma, later. Like, and being in a medical field, I'm working in this clinic, and on the daily, man, I'm going through people's lists of medications. And, you know, guys our age, in their 40s, younger, 30s, 20s, on a list of medications. This medication is for the high blood pressure. This medication is for my acid reflux. And these ones are for the side effects of those medications. But instead of, you know, taking the medications, you know, the whole saying of Hippocrates had, like let the food be thy medicine and the medicine be thy food. You know, it's a no-brainer. Like, when you actually start to connect with that concept, now definitely there's people that will be like, well, what about the chemicals that are being sprayed on the lettuces and the fruits and the vegetables? You know, the air is polluted, the water's polluted, the soil's polluted. We can only do the best we can.
Yep. But
seeing individuals reverse certain issues like deathly ailments and diseases through going back to nature, it's really just... it's a no-brainer, man. And, you know, I've got a friend, actually, at this point in time, she's doing the keto thing. And she's like, Nate, all I crave is apples. And I'm like, oh, my God. Like, your body is telling you what you really need. You know, we run on sugar. You know, this machine runs on not table sugar, but fruit sugar. And that's the predominant fuel source. Like, if you and I were to be rolling through the woods, mushroom hunting, plums aren't going to be out at mushroom hunting season, but say we come across a fruit bush, we're going to sit there and gorge ourselves mono meal style on one fruit. But nowadays, the way that stuff is pumped, the commercialism and stuff, it's so intense because people are literally scared of fruit. And keto, the concepts of that, it's, you know, it's scary, man, because people are scared of fruit. And I lived that keto lifestyle for 10 months, and I lost a lot of weight, you know, and I was starting to see muscle definition. I'm going to the gym a lot, but I didn't feel like optimum. And, you know, of course, my regularity was not on point. So it's, yeah, we have a lot of like unschooling to do. We got to really uncondition these old traditions within ourselves. And I think, you know, living by example, you know, like showing the younger generation, like there's people who have been living a raw food lifestyle for over 50 years, more than that. The guy who actually got the gears to change within my head was 86, reversed his colorectal cancer at 44. So he was 42 years raw. And I was like, cool, I'm sold. I'm totally doing it. I want to ski with my grandkids, 100%. This guy, no, he wasn't, you know, like a bodybuilder or something, you know, because we're also, you and I, like our generation, we've been pumped with, you know, He-Man and G.I. Joe and how a man's supposed to look, you know, the warrior. And but this guy, man, I couldn't keep up with him. He was 86, man. I couldn't keep up with him on my snowboard. And I'm like, I'm sold. I went home, found Lissa, bought her book that night. I'm doing this. This is ridiculous. I'd already watched my mom heal herself of kidney cancer,
Right.
but just going to show how addictive cooked foods are, not necessarily, animal-based foods, but cooked foods in general. It still took me 8 months after I watched her heal to go raw. And the reason that I went raw is because I just want to live, I want to be feeling like on the 9 or 10 scale of feeling good. Not like, it's cool, I'm good with a 5 or 6. I want to live feeling great. I want to be able to, I want to play with my grandkids, man. I also want my grandkids to be like, Grandpa, show us your 6-pack, and that's not going to happen if I'm like eating a bunch of cheese and bread and butter and stuff, which I love cheese, bread, and butter back in the day, man, for sure. A cheesy bread, definitely delicious, but only right here, Yeah.
Nate, man, I take that segment right there. I wish people could just watch that part right there, see like your infectious personality that you bring to this, the power and emotion, just that raw feeling, and sharing from your heart and sharing your story and sharing like your thoughts, just letting it roll. That's what this is about, and this is why I wanted to do this series, and I cannot thank you enough for being a part of this. So now,
thanks, man.
You mentioned a book that you bought, and if you would give me just a minute to introduce for me your better half for who's going to be on here tomorrow.
Oh, it's going to be great, man. It's going to be great. Yeah, so her name is Melissa Raimondi. She goes by Lissa because Melissa is the old version. Lissa is the new version, right? And she saved my life, man. I mean, I was scrolling through YouTube after skiing with John, like, I need to be a raw foodie. My mom healed her cancer. This guy healed himself colorectal cancer. I'm working at the hospital at the time, and I'm thinking, I need to do this. I'm all about it. I want to ski when I'm 80. Hands down, I want to be like this guy. So I'm scrolling through, and I see Lissa's before and after video, how she lost 70 pounds, and I'm like, whoa, raw food diet. Okay, raw food romance. And I understood the concept of creating a connection with our food, because we don't have a connection with our food anymore. We don't pray over our food. We like get a sack lunch, or we go get a burger and it's in a paper bag and we just eat it. There's no connection. There's no like picking it out, looking at the colors and smelling the fruit and cutting it open and, creating that connection with the food. So Raw Food Romance is the name of her Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and she has Snapchat too, Lissa Raw Vegan. And I watched her videos, man. I like binged watched her videos that night. And I bought her book. It was called the 30-Day Meal Plan, Raw Food Romance 30-Day Meal Plan. And it was super cheap, like, I don't know, $22 or something. And what I liked about it was 30 days, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Every single recipe was different. So there's 90 recipes in there. And I'm like, this is totally worth it. So I bought her book and I followed it day by day. This will be 2 years next month in March that I bought her book. So I followed her book from March, and I still use it. Actually, I tapped into it this week because after I bought that book and I bought all her books. Anything that she's putting out, I'm like, give it to me. I need this. This is awesome. So she's really amazing. She's got a lot of passion for what she does, and she's reversed fibromyalgia, acne, inflammation, joint pain. She's an amazing individual, man. So yeah, I bought her book, followed her book for about 8-9 months. And then I met actually a friend of hers, Raw Tropical Living, Jack Albright, another amazing story and individual in this raw food niche. And I shared my story with him, and he reached out to her and said, check this guy out. He'd be a great testimonial for your book. And we connected, did an interview for her YouTube, testimonial for her book. And we stayed up to like 3-4 in the morning talking, man. And we have been talking ever since. And actually now we're engaged, man. Like, I'm marrying the author of the book that changed my life, man. It's the most nuttiest thing.
that is such a great story. I love hearing that. I love hearing that connection and that passion between you two. Like, and she's
Here
right
we
there.
are right here.
So, I feel that affinity that you have for her because, in my story, my wife changed my life. I was living at the bottom of a bottle, running around in bars, doing stupid shit like drinking and driving. When I say drinking and driving, I don't mean like, oh, I had a beer or two. I mean like I'd have 8 and then I'd go out drinking.
Man.
Hardcore. When I met my wife, she was coming out of a relationship where that was a big part of the relationship, and that was something I knew she would not accept anymore. So I dropped it like a bad habit. Literally, I was like just done with it, and that changed my life dramatically, and I really appreciate that. And then she led us to this vegan journey, which had she not done that, I was literally working my way to a heart attack. I was already showing signs of early cardiovascular disease. She hates it when I say it, but I'm suffering at my age. I'm suffering from. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say 1 in 3, bro. 1 in 3 have heart issues. That's one of our biggest killers here in America, man.
It is the number 1 killer in this country, more than cancer, more than alcohol, more than guns, more than you name it. And people are not waking up to this. You told me earlier you've had people come back
right here. We're so addicted to what. Yeah.
They come back and you've seen the same patients 3-4 times, and it's like, holy shit, when are you going to learn? Like at some point you have to realize that the food you're eating is literally causing this condition. It's killing you.
Yeah, and, it's that addiction, man. I had a patient that had 16 stents, bro. 16.
Damn.
And a stent is where they go in with a little balloon, and you've got a clogged artery, and they just kind of blow it up. It's not like fixing any of the other clogged sections.
Nope.
And I'm like, bro, do you think it's like time to wake up? And he's like, Nate, I didn't come here to wake up. Like he's alcoholic, loves his bacon and sausage. And, not everybody's here to experience a healthy journey. Some people came to party, man. They came to wreck themselves. For whatever reason, maybe. I feel it's like right here. It's what we want, in here. The addiction with what goes on our tongue. That dude loves his bacon. He's had 2 heart attacks. He's had a quadruple bypass and 16 stents. This guy's a miracle. Like, I can't believe he's even still running. I'm thinking, like, you have amazing genetics. Like, you're unbelievable. Could you imagine if you were to eat go back to nature and eat properly? Like, you'd be unstoppable. You'd be that 86-year-old skier.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the addiction is real, man. Addiction is so real. It's so real. Like, I have an addiction, like I was telling you, to popcorn. I ate popcorn at the movies, and then I was like, maybe I'll just have a little more popcorn. And it's like, you and I were talking, it's either all in or nothing. And that's the way it's got to be, man. That's why I stay raw, because I know if I eat cooked foods, I'm going to want more and more cooked foods. And the concept that I have with raw foods is they're not dead. So, the enzymes, basically the way I picture it is we're born with like a bag of grapes. And this bag of grapes, each grape represents our own enzyme power to break down cooked foods that we can't break down because they're dead. Raw foods contain all the enzymes in there to break it down. The body, it doesn't have to do any work. The body literally knows how to process these foods. Now, we eat cooked foods, animal products, or just cooked plant-based foods. Sometimes it's real hard for the body to break it down, so we're expending our own enzymes to break this food down, which then eventually we've got no enzymes left, and then we're running into some serious issues. It's nutty, man. It's nutty, but that's why I stay raw, is because to me, in my mindset, in the journey that I want to live in this body, raw is the only way that I'm going to be able to experience the life that I want to experience. Because the addiction is real. I'm super addicted to cooked foods, man. Like, I was that guy that'd go back and my whole plate would be mashed potatoes, butter and salt, of course. But it's dead. It's a dead food. You get massive dopamine release, of course, from these cooked foods. So it's very addictive. But that's why I had to keep going back for more mashed potatoes, is because my body's like, yo, Nate, we haven't got anything yet down here. Keep it coming. because it's dead. It's dead of nutrient. There's no water. And my buddy Light Sam's, Brandon, his name is, another real passionate, powerful individual. He said something, we were talking, he's like, all cooked food tastes the same, man. It all tastes the same. And I was like, man, that's so true. Like when you regain your taste buds back from cutting out the oil and the salt from your diet, you can actually start to taste the flavors of food. And it's funny because, you know, we make candies for the kids that look like fruits and taste like fruits. It's like, why not just eat the fruit? You know? And it's funny too, we're so twisted, man, because we go to the store and we buy a bag of apples, yet we have an apple tree that was planted by our grandma in the backyard and all the apples are falling on the ground.
And you don't eat them?
No, we go because they have a worm in them or something, right? Or they don't look pretty. They're like kind of, you know, they don't look real pretty.
Yeah, they don't look pretty because they haven't been waxed and they haven't been, you know, scrubbed down real good and everything else. So, man, one of your buddies, Johnny Bravo, he asked if I was going to post this video so you could watch it later. This will be on my YouTube channel, The Vegan Sheepdog. Feel free to check that out. It'll take me some time. I've got to, we got some things we're working on here that it'll be this evening by the time I get that back up and posted, but I will get it shared. I'll get Nate tagged in it, and I'll look forward to tagging Alyssa for tomorrow. And man, I tell you what, this has been awesome. We should do this more often because I think the more that you have these real raw, no pun intended, these real these conversations, I think that really like reaches out to more people. I think more people can relate to these conversations because, you know, a lot of times no one wants to sit and listen to someone preach at them. They don't want to listen to some scientist up there reading data off of a spreadsheet while the numbers of the same numbers for the following numbers are the same. I think conversations like this that people can connect to and relate, and I really appreciate that. So looking forward to tomorrow. Man. And
tomorrow's going to be great. I can't wait to see Alyssa on here, man. She is so amazing, definitely. And she's been in the supplement and health food industry for over 20 years. She's a wealth of knowledge. That's why I had to snatch her up, man. I'm like, get over here. Yeah, man, that's gonna be a good show, and I love you, man. I really love you. I love what you're doing. Putting these on the YouTube is so good, man. It's really good because, yeah, like you're saying, people can connect with just conversation. This is just like you and me just sitting BSing, you know, and it's good. We got to switch the gears upstairs for sure, and these are the kinds of things that can help people switch the gears. Now, there are some issues out there. I'm not sure if you've been familiar with some of the stuff that's been going on YouTube with people with, you know, going back to animal products because they have certain issues that aren't being addressed. You know, they might go extremes. They might do, you know, water fasting, and then they're not like breaking that fast properly, and they're not addressing their gut issues. Like it all happens in the gut. Everything all spawns in the gut. And another guy I really liked was John Rose. I don't know if you know who John Rose is. He's also like a nearly 30 years raw vegan. He got fully raw Christina actually to be raw. And he talks about the serpent that lives within us in our colon. It's the mucoid plaque. It's the serpent. And that's where all these diseases and these issues are, you know, spawning from. And when people aren't addressing these issues, and then they go by they're deficient in vitamins, because as a raw vegan and as basically any kind of lifestyle you live, we need certain vitamins that we can't get because we're not living the lifestyle that we used to live back in nature, our hands in the soil. You know, homeopathy is also a great thing too, definitely. But, you know, B12, vitamin D3, omega-3, K2 for our bones, nails, teeth, skin, hair, and iodine. These things right there those are the 5 supplements that I use, not every single day, but weekly, because we can't get everything that we need from any kind of diet. Raw, it's animal-based, whole food, plant-based. It's just not an optimum world anymore.
Right. Well, and that's one of the things that always amazes me. You know, you could go get a Big Mac at McDonald's, sit down at your desk at work. No one's ever going to ask you, are you getting enough protein? Are you getting enough B12? Are you getting enough, no one's ever going to ask those questions because they just assume, yeah, you're good. So, you know, they don't even realize they're deficient in most of those things themselves. And like you said, it's up here. It's all up here. Yeah. And things are changing, but we have got to go and do more work to reach out to more people to wake up. And so, man, greatly appreciate all this today, and look forward to more conversations like this with you, because together, there's no doubt we can make a difference here. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And then somebody had asked, Lissa had responded, but 12:30 Eastern tomorrow. And we'll have another awesome Raw conversation tomorrow.
I love it, man. I love it. Looking forward to it. Thanks a bunch, Chris.
You have a good one, man. Take care.
You too, brother. Love you.
Love you.